He was a poet, and we found poetry, some of his poetry that he'd written when he was in Colombia, and the the melody of it, the music of it, the beauty of it is amazing. I don't understand half of it, and it doesn't matter. The music is amazing. My father was born in 1917 in Timaná, Colombia, into its complicated geography, history, and culture. Timaná is a small 16th century Spanish colonial town deep in the heart of the Colombian jungle, in a beautiful valley surrounded by amazing mountains. When we were visiting a few years ago, my tío smiled with a glint in his eye as we were standing out in front of their home, their old home place. And he told us of my father as a teenager on horseback, galloping out of the courtyard of the house, turning hard left and speeding up into the mountains. And then he smiles at us and he says, and he did that standing up on bareback. Just as Dio told us the story, we looked at my father and he shrugged it off with a smile. Just another amazing moment in his intensely private and modest life. My grandmother thought my father was both a gift from God and her gift to God. At a young age, my father was convinced he was destined to share God's love, and in order to serve God, he was to serve people. To do that, he committed himself to the church. As an adult, his commitment was challenged when at the same time my grandmother was dying from cancer, my grandfather was moving on with his life, my father's community was overwhelmed by poverty, and church leadership sided with an oppressive government which violently put down powerless peasants who were fighting for what they thought was right. From this complex and confounding reality, he went on to teach, and around 1950 he came to the United States for more education and a new view of the world. He became a part of our American melting pot. He exemplified it, and yet he was unlike anyone else I ever knew. To us, he was a rock of dependability, and yet an enigmatic, precious gift. When he came to the United States, he devoted himself to learning English and studying history, economics, anthropology, and sociology. He learned about Americans, about people of the world, about humanity. To these lessons, he brought his passions for music and poetry. I remember, from my earliest memories to his dying days, seeing him light up like a brilliant star when good music was playing or when he heard great poetry. His life's work went beyond 2 master's degrees, a PhD, a multitude of academic appointments, leadership positions, publications, speeches, and honors. His career was focused on furthering our understanding of history, social systems, poverty, violence. He demanded of his students and of himself an intellectual honesty about the world and our society. He loved his work with critical thinking, candor, wit, an amazing smile, and a wonderful laugh. He loved the search for truth and justice. The truth is what moved him. With thoughtful study, honest argument, and pragmatism, he struggled his entire life to understand what was true in the moment, what was true in history, and what was true about the human condition. No matter how amazing or distressing he found his reality to be, he demanded clarity of his mind. He lived 96 years and never quenched his thirst for knowledge. Yet he was intensely private. When you asked him to go beyond the intellectual and give a personal, spiritual answer about God, he shunned labels, religious, theological, or otherwise. His answer, if he gave you one, was God is love. Dad always ended visits and telephone conversations with me by saying, I love you. I can't tell you exactly when we started that habit, or he started that habit, but it became wonderfully ingrained in our relationship. We almost lost him many years ago around the time of his retirement when he had a life-threatening heart infection. Through that challenge, we had the blessing of saying our goodbyes and expressing how deeply we loved each other. We cried together, We laughed together. We faced together the reality that he would probably never see me graduate from college or graduate school, find my soulmate, get married, or have children. It was overwhelmingly emotional, particularly when his personality as I was growing up was to be unwaveringly strong and stubborn. But it was this near-death experience that made us intensely conscious of how much we loved each other. And for decades, we had that gift together. One of the countless gifts that we learn from him is the understanding that the struggle to see the truth can be painful, but it exists in a reality of love. He never, not once, in our decades together, showed any doubt about his love for my mother, Linda. There was never, ever anything more important to him. His love for my mother became the core of his existence. His love radiated from her to his children, his grandchildren, his family by Lisa's marriage, his family by my marriage, his family in Colombia. I remember as a kid challenging him with Lisa and Marcos about how he could love Mom so much and yet love us too. He didn't satisfy our naive curiosity except to simply say he loved us more than anything else in the world. We couldn't understand him completely, but we were certain that he loved us. We had that curiosity about him, about how he could love us so much, because his love for us was so powerful in our lives that we had nothing outside our family to compare it to. Love stories, love songs, history books, literature, movies, popular culture, religion, education, media, even music and poetry. None of it explained to us how he felt. None of it could. Yet we never doubted his unconditional love for us. Some of you never met him. Some of you never got to spend enough time with him. Some of you were blessed to spend a lot of time with him. Some of us got to spend most, if not all, of our lives with him. For all of us, time with him was precious. No matter how well we knew him, there was always something left to reach for with him. There was always something more to learn from him, with him, about him. You could never be with my father and know everything you wanted to know. He kept us reaching, even yearning for more. I believe that was because he loved us and life so deeply that he couldn't fully consciously grasp it. It seemed too deep, too real to be completely comprehensible. But to his dying day, he reached for that understanding. Julius Rivera lived his life devoted to truth, justice, curiosity, learning, humanity, humility, his community, his friends, his family, his wife. Love. I love you, Dad.